Next came the much stronger Jin dynasty in northern China, and this was a rich, organized empire with millions of people, powerful cities, and one of the most advanced bureaucracies in the world. The Jin were everything that the Mongols were not. They were settled down into one specific area, they were wealthy, they were making money from trade, they were heavily fortified, but Genghis Khan wasn't reckless. Starting in 1211, he fought really smart. He avoided any type of direct battle, but he would cut off food and supply lines, and he would pick off smaller cities one by one. So historian Morris Rasabi notes that Genghis showed a lot of patience for a Mongolian conqueror. He would wait months, sometimes even longer, to just wear down cities instead of just going in head first. And the strategy really paid off. By 1215, after a long, brutal siege, the Jin capital Zhongdu in modern-day Beijing fell to the Mongols. With northern China under his control, Genghis turned his attention west, and in 1218, a new enemy emerged. This is the Khwarezm Empire, and this was basically just like a massive realm spanning modern-day Iran, Afghanistan, and Central Asia. And the trouble started when the Shah of Khwarezm made a mistake. He executed Mongol envoys and merchants. So to Genghis, this wasn't just an insult, this was like sacrilegious. Killing envoys violated the sacred laws of the Tengri, the eternal blue sky, and the response was going to be total annihilation. In 1219, Genghis Khan led roughly 150 to 200,000 men west. I mean, think about that, a force of 200,000 men. And now this was smaller than the Shah's forces, but they were much more disciplined. So his strategy was masterful. Instead of one giant army just descending upon the Shah and his city, he split his troops into multiple divisions that attacked from different directions. While generals Jeb and Subutai led diversionary strikes, Genghis drove straight into the heart of the empire. And by 1220, the great city of Bukhara, which is in present-day Uzbekistan, had fallen. The Persian historian Juvayni described how Genghis Khan entered the city's grand mosque, stood before the terrified people, and declared, "I am the punishment of God. If you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you." Whew. That is bars, unfortunately. I mean, pour one out for all the people over there, my bad, but also kind of bars. And then you have Samarkand, which is in modern-day Uzbekistan, another jewel of the Muslim world at the time. And they, once again, surrendered without much of a fight. The Khwarezm Empire didn't collapse in one epic battle. It crumbled piece by piece as the Mongols destroyed its major cities, and then its trade routes, and then its food supplies. And they just knew that anyone that resisted would face these unimaginable consequences. And then, in modern-day Turkmenistan, at a town known as Merv, one of the largest cities on Earth at the time, the Mongols reportedly killed the entire population after a brief uprising. I mean, the entire thing, gone from Genghis Khan and his people. I mean, it's pretty brutal. Like I feel like in history we can kind of gloss over it, but like this is like. Yeah, I mean, this is proper. I shouldn't say proper. This is brutal genocide of just going through to city, be like, hey, if you resist us, we will destroy everything, every single thing that is living in this city. So at Nishapur, where Genghis Khan's son-in-law had been killed, the revenge was so total that, according to the chroniclers, once again, even the animals were slaughtered. They would find a rat and they would just kill it. They would find a cat, out of here. The historian Rashid al-Din wrote that pyramids of skulls were left behind as monuments to the Mongolian wrath. I mean, like, the level of brutality here, I don't even know if it can be really comprehended. I mean, the destruction across Central Asia was beyond belief, but it was calculated. Genghis Khan wanted every ruler to understand that if you resist me, your entire city, everything in it, is going to die. Or you could just surrender and you'll live. And it was terror used as strategy. It's shock and awe, right? And it sort of worked in a way. I mean, news of these Mongolian, brutalists was spreading so fast that many cities just surrendered off rip. Like, even before they got there, they're like, hey, if the Mongols ever come, we're just giving it to them. And in a way, this saved a lot of lives in the process. Meanwhile, Genghis Khan's generals, Subutai and Jeb, his homies from back in the day, pressed even farther west on a long, daring expedition. They crushed the Georgian and the Russian armies. They circled the Caspian Sea, and they gathered priceless intelligence about Europe's terrain and its defenses. It was one of history's boldest reconnaissance missions ever. And when they returned in 1223, they had traveled thousands of miles, destroyed several armies, and handed Genghis Khan a clear picture of the world that lay beyond. And this was ultimately the next stage of his empire's destiny. By 1223, Genghis Khan's empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea. I mean, we should get a visual of this on the screen because it's so massive. This is an unprecedented domain covering, modern-day Mongolia, northern China, Central Asia, including Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and parts of Iran and southern Russia. I mean, in terms of land acquired in such a short period of time, it's difficult to really fathom. In just over 2 decades, the Mongols had conquered more territory than the Roman Empire had taken in 4 centuries. It was the largest contiguous land empire the world had ever seen, and Genghis still wasn't finished. I mean, just as a side note, I'm pretty sure the reason why, not only, but the reason why Moscow is where it is because the Russians at the time that survived the conquest of the Mongolians, they just fled to a place that would be safe. And so they found this little enclave. But the memory of the Mongolian terror fit so deeply into the mind of Russian war leaders that they still carried on that sort of fear to this very day, and which is why they're so concerned about any type of Western invasion coming from Europe, because the Mongols were so brutal that they forced the Russians into a new piece of land. Now, Genghis Khan understood that conquering was the easy part. Ruling is where things are really tricky, especially in this time. But his genius didn't stop in the battlefield. It carried over into how he managed one of the biggest empires in history. So at the heart of this rule was this yasa. This was this massive code of laws that applied to everyone, no matter the tribe, the rank, religion, whatever you are, you all abide by the yasa. And it wasn't just a bunch of military rules. It was the foundation of justice and order. So the things I mentioned before, theft, adultery, betrayal, death sentence. But what made Yasa remarkable was the fairness. So even princes and generals had to follow it. If a noble broke the law, they faced the same punishment. And for the 13th century, this idea of equality before the law was revolutionary. I mean, again, in America, we have this idea no one's above the law. That is generally a new idea in the scale of human history. For most of human history, it was the fiefdom, the serfs that would kind of be on the lower class. They had to uphold the law, and oftentimes the law would be used against them. And then the wealthiest people, the most powerful people, the religious authority, they would be exempt from the law. But it seems like in Genghis's sort of new empire he built, whoever you were, it didn't matter. I imagine Genghis could do whatever he want, but for most people, they had to abide by the law, or else they would be punished. And so he also built this same government on this merit idea and not on bloodline. So what mattered was your skill and your loyalty and not who your father was. So like I said, Subutai, the son of the blacksmith, was one of the generals. Mughalai, who served under one of Genghis Khan's rivals and was later captured, proved his loyalty and was then trusted to rule northern China, basically independently. Even Genghis Khan's sons, Jokai, Chagatai, Ogadai, and Tolu, weren't spared from earning their keep. They got territories to manage, but if they messed up, their father would come down on them just like he would anyone else. Now, one of the smartest moves was promoting the idea of religious tolerance, which again, in America, we kind of take for granted, but at the time it was, convert or die. So Genghis himself followed the traditional sort of Mongol shamanistic faith. They worshipped this eternal blue sky, this Tengri that I mentioned, but he didn't force his beliefs onto others. So they would conquer Christians and Muslims and Buddhists and shamans, and they were all treated generally pretty equally.